Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending one more press conference at TIFF 2010, our 35th anniversary. Some housekeeping notes to you guys. As you might know, we're going to have talent standing up for 1 minute. Pictures are going to be taken of them. Then I'm going to kindly ask you guys to move to the sides. Please leave space for our volunteers. They need to handle the microphones. No pictures being taken from the front row, please. No flashes are allowed. No mobiles, please switch them off. Media, when you ask your questions, please stand up, announce who you work for, and then ask your questions. Again, just a quick reminder that the press conferences this year are being broadcast live at http://bell.ca/movie lover, and they're also available on your smartphone, only on Bell Network. I would very much like to welcome on stage the director, the producer, and the participants, they're not actors, of the film Waiting for Superman. Thank you very much.
John, one more thing. Mostly to your right. Mr. Gates, one more thing. Really? Mr. Gates, to your left, please. Very good, sir. That's awesome. Mr. Gates, down here, please. And to your left, please. And one more, please, right here. And John, right here. Are you Mr. Gates? Yes. Thank you, sir. And right here, please.
Gents, may you please take your seats? Please go to the corners. Remember, no pictures from the front row. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tom Powers, the documentary and Mavericks programmer for the festival, and we could not be more pleased about launching this film, Waiting for Superman. It's going to be opening in both the U.S. and Canada very soon. Ask the publicist when. We have an esteemed panel of Jeffrey Canada, John Legend, Bill Gates, Davis Guggenheim, producer Leslie Chilcott. There's this film has been building buzz all year, and it's different from other films in that there's a real expectation for this film to start a conversation that could really make some change. Davis, I'm going to launch a question to you, and then we'll go to the floor. What is it that you're hoping this film will do once it gets out in the world?
Well, for me, it's probably a different answer than what Jeffrey and Bill and Leslie might give you. But for me, the thing I'm trying to attack in this movie is this mental block that I think a lot of Americans have, which is that the problem with our schools are too complex. They've been broken for too long, and it's impossible. And so when you see the article on the page, in the front page of your paper, you turn the page. And so, and I think that was true with global warming. There was this sort of disconnect. You kind of read about the polar bears and you read about ice caps melting, but you couldn't put it all together. And if a film kind of punctures through that disconnect, then people feel like it's possible and they can fix our schools. And they can feel like, I think all of us at this table feel, which, we now know that we know it works. And we know it's possible. The question is, will we bring, most Americans with us? And once that happens, people will do, a million amazing things.
Bill, do you want to chime in on that, about what your expectations for the film are, where you want to see this issue go?
Well, part of it is the awareness that the school systems are not working well today. And yet the incredible hopeful piece that you see in a number of schools, the schools these kids are trying to get into, you see that it can work. And then it should create some desire on people's part to have every child able to get into the good schools. So you wouldn't need the lotteries anymore. And so I think it'll draw people into this very important cause and make a lot more schools like the charter schools.
Jeffrey, you've been working on this issue since the 1970s. You say in the film that when you started out, you thought it'd take about 3 years to solve the problem with education. 3+. What is it that prevented it from taking 3 years, and what can happen now that can accelerate that 3-year plan?
I have been absolutely, I think, disappointed that our country had this capacity to accept failure in certain communities with the belief that there's absolutely nothing that we could do. That I have watched over my lifetime generations of Americans failing and people really believing that we had no other option but to let these kids fail. We've accepted it. No one thinks it's outrageous. No one thinks it's a crisis. In certain communities, total failure. 75, 80% of the kids not graduating, not being able to get jobs is accepted as standard American policy. And we can't, as a nation, continue to do that. It is the fact that we don't see this as a crisis, that we're going to do this year what we did last year, even though we know those kids are not going to make it. That no one thinks, well, we better do something different. We maybe have to try some experiments. Maybe we have to get radical to save these kids. That is off the table. If we can't save them doing exactly what we've done, and the Americans have thrown in the towel and said, well, that's it. And I think my hope is that we're going to get people to begin to believe these kids ought to have a future, and we as the adults have to do innovative things to save these kids. I think that's what the film, for me, is all about.
John, I want to ask you a question. You must have lots of filmmakers who want to use your music. And can you tell me what your personal connection to this film is, why this issue is important to you?
Well, I care deeply about this issue. I care about social justice. I care about making America and making the world a place where no matter where you come from, you have the opportunity to succeed. You have the opportunity to live a good life and to pursue happiness. But in America, if you don't have an education, you can't do that. And when I saw these issues laid out for me, when I visited Davis and looked at the footage before the movie was finally edited, I was so inspired by seeing the vignettes of these stories. I was so drawn in emotionally by it. And it was, it was easy to write a song after that because the stories are so moving. The kids' desire and their parents' desire is so palpable, and it just made me want to write a song and dedicate it to them. And I think it's such a powerful film, and it makes me spend my time promoting it. I don't have to do this. I don't make any money off of this film. And but I'm doing this because I want to do it. I want people to see it, and I want this conversation to move forward and beyond the conversation into action and to real change.
Leslie, as the producer, talk about what's happening with this film on that action part. I mean, besides just putting this film in theaters, you're doing a lot more with this film. Can you talk about those components?
Sure. We're doing a number of things. One is the Pledge campaign, and we tried it with an inconvenient truth, but this is done on a much more sophisticated level. You can pledge to see the film, and not only do you pledge to see the film, several things happen. One is you get a gift card from Donors Choose, a $5 gift card, and the reason $5 is so special is you get to go to the Donors Choose website and fund a classroom project. There have been multiple classroom projects that have been solely funded by this film. And we're now at over 60,000 people have pledged to see the film. So starting at 30,000, key things would happen. At 30,000, Donors Choose kicked in. At 50,000, a company called First Book gave 250,000 of books to kids across America. And they're doing a portion of that in Canada as well. So it's not just, hey, I better go see this movie, which we feel is an amazing educational tool for your average person, but key events are triggered. So that's one thing. And then if you go to our website, There are very simple paths that you can take. Davis talks about, and everyone talks about, how complex this issue is, and you can think, what can I do as one person? And you can go to the website, and there's a path if you're a student, or a path if you're a parent, or a path if you're a teacher, or a path if you're an other, like me. You can take that path.
Leslie's an alien.
Yes.
We're going to open up this to questions. We're going to keep our questions focused on Wayne for Superman and education. So if we're getting a question that's off topic, we're going to move on. But please raise your hand. Tell us where you're from. You, sir.
Hi, Rudy Blair, 680 News. This question is for John. John, once you learned about this film and saw it, what scared you the most about this? What you learned, and also how did it contribute to what you ended up writing?
I wasn't scared. I was a bit angry. I was sad to some extent, seeing some of these kids' lives hang in the balance because of a lottery and because of a school system that makes us have to have a lottery for our kids to get into good schools. That was very frustrating and angering to me. And I wasn't afraid, though. I was passionate and ready to do something and ready to, try to make everybody see this film any way that I could, And I guess my only fear is that no one would see it and that it would, it wouldn't move the conversation forward. But I know that people will see this film, and the more people see it, the more people will tell other people about it. And I'm excited to see what that will inspire.
Toronto Film Festival is here to allay that fear.
Yeah.
Who has a question for us? Right here.
Hello, Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico. This is for Davis and Mr. Gates. Do you think there is a kind of model of a school system in some other country that could be better than the North American school system model?
I think it's better. Good for you.
Well, education's an area where every country has a big challenge because the global economy